Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, March 28th, 9 a.m. Eastern. Just giving an example of how we live stream every morning here as we get ready for the market open. Before we get to the charts, going to talk about a couple of things. Number one, we've got a whole bunch of ebooks that we've been putting out over the last year plus, and we compiled them all in one place. So going to post the link for those in the YouTube chat and also in the comment section for you to check out at your leisure. And another thing, tomorrow I'm doing a live stream at 5 p.m. Eastern, and that is going to be about routines, habits, flow state, and of course, in true irony fashion, I have been thrown out of all of my routines over the last week or two as I started prepping for that webinar. And I'll talk a bit about that tomorrow and the impact that it has had, but just a very timely lesson for that webinar. So I'll see you all 5 p.m. and that'll be on the YouTube channel as well. 5 p.m. tomorrow. So right now we got a little bit of weakness pre-market, and we're watching for the potential that the NASDAQ is going to break the key support levels that we've been watching over the last couple of days, ever since the FOMC. And we can see the S&P 500 futures chart right here. We've got a daily lower high potentially shaping up. So since our recent low, which was the lowest price we've seen in a couple of months, we've had this little higher low, higher high pattern on the S&P 500. Now a daily lower high is being set, and if we were to drop down and break the low from last week, we would then be in a daily downtrend. So it's essentially a head and shoulders is trying to form, because we know a head and shoulders is just going from an uptrend into a downtrend. And so watching for the lower high to be set. And another thing that I'm going to be watching on this consolidation to help gauge, is this healthy or not? A number of things. Number one, do all of our major sectors hit the lows at the same time? If that happens, then we know that there is a significant amount of money leaving the market, and that is showing a little bit of fear perhaps. If there's rotation, so for example, if the NASDAQ breaks these supports that are being tested right now and pulls back, but the financial sector continues its daily bounce, that's going to show us rotation. That's going to be healthy for the bulls' bigger picture. So the bears want all major sectors at the lows together. The bears want to see hourly oversold conditions not result in daily higher lows. So we're going to look at individual names here in just a moment, but just as an example of that, Apple. So Apple right now is seeing daily consolidation shaping up, potentially a small gap down open for the morning. And so the daily chart for Apple can see daily consolidation and remain healthy. We've got daily EMA 12. We've got a clear uptrend. So what I'm going to be watching for is when Apple hits hourly oversold conditions, potentially today, maybe not today, we'll have to see how it plays out, does that mark a daily higher low? Because if Apple were to see hourly oversold conditions, mark a daily higher low, hold daily EMA 12 support, that's going to be just fine for the bulls looking for continuation. So if I'm a bear, along with wanting all of our major sectors, and when I say major sectors, I mean XLF, QQQ, XLV, along with wanting to see all of those hitting the lows at the same time, if I'm a bear, I want to see hourly oversold bounces result in lower highs and lower lows. And that would show weakening market environment as well. Because again, we know the strongest uptrends have hourly oversold conditions mark daily higher lows for trend continuation. So we're going to be watching that very closely. As far as the NASDAQ futures support, we've got all these lows from the FOMC reaction. The actual FOMC day, the next day was a little double bottom on Thursday and Friday. And you can see here we are pre-market and we're just above those levels. We got the EMAs close to a bear cross on the 4-hour time frame, the EMA 12 and 26. And essentially what the bears need to see is all of these levels breaking, not just one. Because if we break, if we break support and then go into a bounce, but we hold the FOMC low, that's not going to be convincing for the bears. We have to see a break of all of these levels, including that low of the FOMC. And we can look at QQQ. If you're not a futures trader, we can see QQQ key support, 305.51 is the level that the bears want to take out for there to be convincing daily consolidation underway. So going to be watching all of these things over the next couple of days. And again, QQQ set for an open right at the low of yesterday. If 307.89 breaks, it's an hourly downtrend confirming. And again, those support levels will then be in play. for the bulls to keep their control, if they hold 307.89 or break it with zero follow through, we're going to be looking at hourly lower high resistance. A lot of individual names gave us an hourly lower high from the end of yesterday. And for QQQ, that is 310.39. So that's going to be a key short-term resistance that we are keeping an eye on. The financial sector, what we've been seeing here, just to summarize, the last 2 weeks we've had the banking news in the headlines. So we saw clearly the financial sector, the energy sector, IWM, small caps, the biotech sector, all leading the way to the downside. And we saw big tech, crypto, and metals leading the way to the upside. If we zoom in from there, ever since Friday into yesterday, we saw a bit of a switch. We saw all of our weaker sectors bouncing, and we saw our stronger sectors consolidating. Semiconductors are in the stronger sectors as well. So again, just watching that relationship to see if they're going to shift and go inverse to each other or not. Because XLF bounce on the daily is still in a daily downtrend. If XLF cannot break 32.05, it's just a daily lower high. And so we're watching the hourly uptrend, knowing that if that is lost, then the daily lower high is set. So if the financial sector, if XLF breaks 31.24 today, the daily lower high is set, and we'll be looking back down towards our recent fear low. So if I'm a bear, I want to see the NASDAQ break the FOMC low. I want to see the financial sector set a daily lower high and drop together. Again, I don't want to see rotation if I'm a bear. The dollar is seeing daily consolidation. The dollar bulls have to confirm a daily uptrend if we're going to set a weekly higher low. And again, we can just make a whole checklist, whether you're a bull or a bear, of what you want to see. And if I'm a bear, I want to see the dollar set a weekly higher low and head back to the recent highs. So to do that, we have to confirm a daily uptrend. And so we need to hold 101.91 and break 103. Let's see, 101.91 support, 103.36 resistance. That would confirm the daily uptrend, and that would set the weekly higher low. And if I'm a bull, I just want to see the dollar keep dropping to lower lows and stay in that daily downtrend. Gold, trying to set the daily higher low for an equilibrium. We need a 4-hour uptrend, and we just confirmed it. So a little lower high, higher low, higher high. So bulls are doing their best to defend daily support and EMA 12 and try and tighten up to maintain the daily uptrend. So potential for a daily inside bar on gold today. We have silver still in a daily uptrend. So silver's trying to set another daily higher low here. Still very healthy consolidation on silver. And the miners bought the dip notably yesterday. Gap down open on GDX and a close at the high of the day. And so that was notable strength, and we're seeing a gap up open on the miners now. So the miners are testing the high, 31.79, or 31.80, I should say, to try and confirm this little daily bull flag. And this is the first time that we've seen the miners leading over the last 2 weeks. Again, for me, it's just looking at all these names. It's just a point in time 2 weeks ago when the financial sector scare started. That's when we started seeing capital doing different things as far as where's capital moving, where's it leaving, where's it going to. And so we can say that GDX, the miners, have not led to the upside since that has happened. And this morning, they are leading to the upside from yesterday into today, leading to the upside. So the big question that I have on silver and the miners is, are we setting a weekly lower high for a tightening range? Or can bulls maintain the daily uptrend and make our way back to resistance? Gold already broke this resistance. Silver and the miners have not. So we could say gold is at the highest levels in 10 months. Silver and the miners are only at the highest levels in a couple of months. Oil daily uptrend confirmed. We know then to zoom out because we're scouting a weekly lower high, anything under 81.04 to be the most likely result of this bounce from here. And the 4-hour uptrend is our guide. We got the oil inventory report tomorrow to be keeping an eye on, but a solid daily uptrend. The energy sector is trying to follow. Energy has not confirmed the daily uptrend yet. We would have to break 80.81. So we're going to watch the hourly uptrend on XLE and keeping an eye on 80.81. We can say that XLE is currently a little bit weaker than oil. Natural gas is still very weak. Natural gas, whether you're watching Nat Gas USD or the future of NG, the continuous contract, you've got a daily stair-step pattern, which means a lower high every single day for the last 10 days in a row. We're right on top of support, depending on what instrument you're looking at. Some have already broken support. You can see NG, the futures chart, still just above, but the bears have absolute control as long as we are in a stair-step daily drop. We have to break the high of the previous day for the first indication that anything is shifting. And bulls' backs are against the wall. We just got this little support level. So essentially, have to see there is a potential bottom fishing play there. The probability, when you're looking at a bottom fish or a top fishing play, the probability you're going to stop out is high because you're going against short-term momentum, and that short-term momentum has gotten to a key level. But the reward, if we do bounce off this support, in this example, would far outweigh the potential risk. So just as an example, let's say my stop is at 195 and I enter at 205, I've got 10 cent risk. Whereas, if we bounce from here, the potential reward is 40 cents plus. So it's a scenario where, I'll take those kinds of trades knowing the probability is high that I'll stop out, but also knowing that, if I get 1 out of every 4, it's going to potentially be worthwhile. So just have to ensure that if you are top fishing and bottom fishing, that's the kind of mindset that you go in with to help with your position sizing and things like that. Stopping out is very common on those plays, but when they work with some nice reward. Bitcoin is seeing some weakness from yesterday into today. Potential 4-hour bear flag right now. Simple statement, if 4-hour EMA 12 is resistance, then it's a potential bear flag. Bulls have to prove to us that it is not a bear flag. We have weekly consolidation underway, and we're then going to be watching for 4-hour oversold conditions if we see another leg down. That'll be the next thing that we're watching. And at this point, the bulls are trying to cling to daily EMA 12 support and the bulls are hoping that it's just a daily inside bar, because if we break the low of yesterday, that means that 4-hour bear flag is confirming. The crypto stocks have been showing us relative weakness for a number of days. Coin has had relative weakness since it had bearish news about the SEC, dropped to the fresh lower low yesterday. Hourly bear flag is potentially on the table. Simple statement here for coin. If we do not break 62.77, it is an hourly bear flag. So that's a key resistance, first thing. And support of 60.51 is also key. It's a double bottom there. Got to break 60.41 for bear follow through. And the other names, Coin and MARA, Riot and MARA, they started showing us significant relative weakness on Friday, and then they followed through yesterday. So same thing, if Riot does not break 834, the bears keep full control, and 791 is support. We just got a clear hourly downtrend as our guide as we're seeing this daily consolidation underway. So again, it's the stronger names, crypto, gold, tech, semiconductors, that have been leading the last couple of weeks. They are now all in daily consolidation for the most part. And so the question that we have for the rest of this week, is this daily consolidation healthy, or are there red flags? And that's what I was talking about with making a list of the things that bulls want to see and the things that bears want to see as we gauge what this consolidation looks like. So another couple of things as we look at some individual names here. So Google had a 4-hour FOMC equilibrium that broke bear already. And so that starts to increase odds a little bit that other names will break bear. Google and Apple had the same 4-hour equilibrium. Google broke bear yesterday. Apple's close to breaking bear today. Same thing, Bitcoin had a 12-hour equilibrium. Same thing from FOMC, 12-hour equilibrium broke bear yesterday, and the NASDAQ 12-hour equilibrium, the futures chart, is testing support and potentially going to break bear today. That's the battle that we're watching first thing this morning. Can the NASDAQ bulls defend support and remain within this 12-hour equilibrium or not? And so we can't look at this and say, Bitcoin broke bear, so the NASDAQ's going to break bear. But we can look at this as for clues to help shape our probability. Google breaking bear increases the probability that Apple will break bear as well. Doesn't mean it will, but it just shifts perspective, which means that can shift our aggression level of looking for a short. It can change the position size that we trade with if we get more confident based off that clue. So again, that's the mindset of how I am trading, and I'm looking at all these different things and all these different factors and pieces of the puzzle. that's just a probability needle of what's the most likely scenario, and these bits of information help me shift that probability needle. So again, as I'm looking at my IRA and how much protection do I want to see here? Do I want to have a bear lean in my IRA, looking for the shorts to take control over the next week? What's going to help answer that question is all of the things that I've been talking about. Do all major sectors hit the lows of the day at the same time? Do hourly oversold conditions result in lower highs and lower lows? These are the little bits of information that shape my game plan going forward. So Apple, key support test, again, the low of the FOMC reaction is 157.57. And we're testing that first thing here. And if that breaks, we're then going to be watching for hourly oversold conditions. And the next support level that I'll be looking at is down at 156, pretty much the low of every day, 156.54, then 154.15. But RSI is something I'm looking for. So if we get to hourly oversold, do we get a bounce? Aggressive bulls are going to be looking for entries for hourly oversold conditions on names that are in strong daily uptrends with EMA 12 support. So I'm personally not going to be an aggressive bull because I'm cautious up at these levels, but I'm definitely open to daily consolidation remaining healthy on semiconductors and big tech. I know there's a lot of people that are bearish, and I know that there's a possible scenario that bulls get another push up to put pressure on those FOMC and post-FOMC bears and maybe stop some of them out. So I'm open to that possibility. I'm just not confident enough to enter on weakness. There's different ways that a bull could do this. If we're hourly oversold, a real aggressive bull is going to make an entry and scale in. A patient bull is going to then watch the hourly oversold bounce. And if it's big enough and convincing enough, they're then going to look for the hourly higher low and have their stop under the low at that point of consolidation, saying that's either the daily high or low or I'm wrong and want to stop out. Because again, if hourly oversold marks the daily high or low, we're going to stay strong. So that's what a more patient bull would be looking for with the current setup. Bears are just going to be looking to short hourly lower highs as long as we're in an hourly downtrend. And we are in an hourly downtrend right now. So Apple, I don't trade Apple often as an individual name, but I watch it closely all the time just for clues because of how important it is as an individual name. Microsoft is another name that has a lot of importance due to its holdings in these major ETFs. So it's attempting a bull flag on the daily and failing. Look at these tops here, 281.04, 06, 46, pretty much 4 tops all at that range here over the last few days. And watching that low of yesterday, we got 275.52 and 275.20 as 2 support levels in play first thing. And if they break, the daily lower high is set, and the next important level is then down at 269.52 to see if the bears are able to confirm a daily downtrend or whether bulls are able to defend the daily uptrend and keep it going. Amazon is a potential daily head and shoulders. So Amazon, this would be the left shoulder, the head, and now this is a potential right shoulder forming. And if we drop down and break 96.40 support, that's a bear break of the neckline. Amazon right now is a little bit stronger pre-market. We have a lot of individual names that are testing the lows of yesterday right now, or they're just under the lows of yesterday, whereas Amazon we can see is still 1% above the low of yesterday. So Amazon bulls are going to be hoping, if we see any morning weakness, for an hourly equilibrium where we just tighten up within yesterday's range. Bears would have to confirm the hourly downtrend by breaking the low of yesterday if they were going to take over. So just comparing those 3 big tech names, or 3 big QQQ holding names, I can say Amazon is seeing short-term relative strength, certainly not on the daily chart. Apple's daily chart is much stronger than Amazon, but on the hourly chart, from yesterday's action, Amazon is a bit stronger than Apple. So when the bell rings, that's something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on as well. A couple other tech names, we'll run through them quickly here. I am going to look at Baba, Tesla, NVDA in just a moment. So Meta had an hourly rising wedge that we were keeping an eye on yesterday pre-market, and that broke bear pretty convincingly first thing yesterday morning. And it's seeing a small gap down. We're right at the low of yesterday. So again, the hourly downtrend is now our guide, and we're closing in on potential hourly oversold conditions. Does that mark a daily high or low holding daily EMA 12 for uptrend continuation or not? That's a big question that we're going to be watching over the next couple of days. Netflix has been really strong the last few days, but it formed a bearish reversal doji on the daily chart yesterday. So I zoom into the hourly and can see a potential hourly bear flag. If Netflix fails 329.28 resistance on the morning and breaks 324.41, we confirm an hourly downtrend and we confirm daily consolidation. I had a Netflix short swing position that I exited the remainder of at 300, and I'm now looking to re-enter for a weekly lower high short. And I'm not convinced at this point, but that's something I'm watching over the next handful of days, as this is a potential weekly head and shoulders on, that's a bad drawing. It's a potential weekly head and shoulders on the Netflix weekly chart. So I'm absolutely scouting Netflix for a weekly lower high. Tesla has a daily lower high shaping up. Has it already been set? Not yet. So if Tesla were to break 189.94, daily lower high is set. And then it's up to the bears to break 187.15 to try and confirm the daily downtrend. Best case for the bulls would be break the high. For any bull, any individual name heading into the morning, the best case is break the end of the day bounce high. So if Tesla breaks 193.93 this morning, they've then got breathing room above the low of yesterday. And that makes the bulls a lot more comfortable. If we can't get over that level, that's going to keep the low of yesterday in play for the potential confirmation of the hourly downtrend. So Tesla has a small amount of relative strength pre-market, again, similar to Amazon, just because we're not testing the low of yesterday right now. But we'll have to see the first 20 minutes how it shapes up here once the bell rings. NVDA has been a big-time bull. Daily consolidation underway. Same thing. We're looking to test the low of yesterday first thing. If it breaks, I then care more about hourly oversold RSI than I do about previous support levels. Because I want to see, does hourly oversold mark a daily high or low off EMA 12 support? So NVDA, Apple, Meta, all these stronger names are in the same boat looking for daily higher lows to be the result of this consolidation. Bears have to show us a red flag. This NVDA volume is exactly what bulls want to see. Declining bear volume on this pullback. Bears need to show up with increasing bear volume. They need to see hourly oversold conditions result in lower lows. They need to see fear. And we have not had fear in semiconductors and tech for a good number of weeks or months at this point, a couple months. Baba has attention here. So I talked about Baba in the long-term patterns video that I put out a couple weekends ago because we were looking for Baba to set a monthly high or low to shape up the monthly inverse head and shoulders. And this has been a pattern that we were watching ever since this move up, even when we hadn't topped out yet. I was looking at this resistance saying, well, if we don't break 125.84, we've got the setup for a potential inverse head and shoulders. And so now this is the monthly high or low attempt, and we have to break 121.30 for the monthly uptrend to confirm. It would be the first monthly uptrend since all-time highs. It would be a notable shift in the long-term trends. And so I was looking at this bounce on Baba and saying, all right, that's a big enough bounce. I'm looking for a daily high or low on Baba this week. And we went sideways. If we had broken bear, I'd be looking for an entry, and then my stop goes under the low. And I say, that's either the monthly high or low, or I'm wrong. But news out this morning, big gap up. It's running away without me. What do? Do I chase it? No. I wait. I have to wait. I have to wait for daily or hourly consolidation if I want to be aggressive, or daily consolidation if I want to be patient. So with this gap up open, we're going to be trading here at 95. So we're now all the way up here. Resistant is 147, so essentially just 100 psychological. But this is now a big increase in the probabilities that the monthly high or low is being set. We will still have to confirm the daily uptrend, but just like that, we're now trading at the high of the month. And it's now a much more bullish monthly candle. So that monthly high or low is trying to shape up here. And with that Baba attention, we can watch other Chinese names like NIO. NIO is an inverse head and shoulders on the daily. I'm watching this long-term NIO falling wedge. Don't have a ton of conviction in it, but the daily is an inverse head and shoulders. And so we're looking for a higher low. And then if the bulls can break 953 and 970, that would confirm the inverse head and shoulders. And so we have a little bit of strength here pre-market on NIO. Daily high or low is going to be set if we break 913. So just keeping an eye on NIO to see if it can act as a laggard to the Baba strength we're seeing this morning. And again, Baba had news with regards to splitting up their company, and I honestly didn't even read anything more than the headline because it doesn't matter to me. But keeping an eye on whether NIO can get some tailwind in response to that. And Baidu as well, though I don't pay much attention to Baidu personally. Baidu is much stronger. Yeah, Baidu's trying to break highest level in a bunch of months. So out of those three, Baidu is definitely stronger longer term. So for the financial sector names, just one more check-in as we head into the open. It's all about the low of yesterday. If XLF breaks the low of yesterday, it's a double top. It double topped at the high of yesterday, and then a break of support. And that would be the daily lower high being set. And after 31.24, there's a gap fill at 31.02. KRE, the regional banks, are weaker than XLF. They closed at the low of the day. They're seeing a potential small gap down. We're going to test that low first thing. If we break 43.86, the daily lower high is set right away. And we're then looking back at the fear low of 41.28. As long as we keep setting these little daily lower highs, the bears are extremely comfortable. And I don't have a short in the financial sector right now, but I just put on my bear glasses and say, all right, if I'm a bear, do I have anything to worry about on this chart? Absolutely not. Break the daily lower highs, and that's the first, it perks me up and says, oh, okay, maybe I want to take some profit as a bear. Maybe I want to protect my position. But until that happens, bears are extremely comfortable as long as the daily lower highs keep forming. So pulling up my Fidelity screen here as we head into the open, you can see SPY as a potential little bear flag. And again, I'm just watching those lows of yesterday. QQQ is testing the low of yesterday first thing. Healthcare, keeping an eye on healthcare. I'm interested in JNJ. JNJ had a weekly stair-step drop, which means a lower high every single week for 11 weeks. That did break bull yesterday, but the daily chart is not convincingly breaking bull. I need a break of 155 to be the first indication of a shift in momentum taking place. So I'm keeping an eye on it, but if we pull back here into daily consolidation, that's just going to tell me not yet, remain patient, keep an eye on it, but pretty much a double bottom at 150 and a handful of tops at 155. And so that's something I'm keeping an eye on this week. Not any actionable setup right now for me, but definitely not going to fall asleep on it. So again, that's one thing that I'm watching here first thing. Do all of our major sectors break the lows of yesterday or not? And the furthest name from breaking the low of yesterday right now is XLF. So if we're going to see all major sectors hitting the lows at the same time, XLF bears are going to have to prove something to us here. And even QQQ. QQQ is hovering right at the low of yesterday first thing. The burden of proof for me on all these NASDAQ names. The financial sector bears don't have to prove anything to me. They're in a daily downtrend. It's the bulls that have to prove something to me for the financial sector. It's the bears that have to prove something to me for semiconductors and tech. And so that's my mindset heading into the current setup. As far as trades that I'm looking to take today, again, I'm pumping the brakes a little bit just because my routine is being all thrown out of whack. I'm commuting these mornings to get solid internet to be able to talk with you all. But if I were looking for a trade here on the morning, I have a bear lean, and I wouldn't be looking bullish personally until we see some hourly oversold conditions on the strong names in daily uptrends. So again, if Apple and if Meta, NVDA, if these names hit hourly oversold, that's when I start getting interested looking for a bounce. A real aggressive bull is going to try and play for a bounce first thing if, the NASDAQ can double bottom with the low of yesterday. But I personally am not going to be an aggressive bull with the current setup just because we are teetering right on top of these supports for the NASDAQ. And I just want to observe, are we going to break through them or are bulls going to hold them? There is a possible scenario where the NASDAQ bulls set the 12-hour higher low. So that's something that I'm keeping an eye on as well. If the NASDAQ heads back to the end of yesterday, bounce high, that's going to be the 12-hour higher low trying to shape up. Pretty notable lower open on Riot and MARA, so those names are remaining lead bears, at least for now. And here's the open. So QQQ is holding the low of yesterday first thing. We'll see if that remains the case or not. You can see a whole bunch of red out there, but it's definitely small red. Meta is a lead bear out of the gate. It's down over 1%. The other tech names are not close to being down 1% at this point. Bears want to see SPY break the low of pre-market. Again, Tesla and Amazon holding up a little bit better than other individual names. And now it's just watching this QQQ battle at this support. Pulling up the NASDAQ. Again, we're right at these levels. Looking at the hourly from the last few days. Got low of yesterday being tested right now. And then we got the low of Wednesday and Thursday as a bit of a double bottom as a key level as well. You can see Amazon is the first QQQ related name to go green on my screen. So we could see that relative strength pre-market, and it's still standing out a little bit here. We certainly know Amazon's not going to be able to offset weakness if QQQ drops all morning and keeps hitting new lows. Amazon's not going to be able to go against that momentum. But we can say that Amazon is positioned well if the QQQ bulls are able to bounce from here. But for now, we are seeing a bear break on QQQ, so we have broken the low of yesterday. And now we're watching XLF closely to see, does XLF break the low of yesterday, 31.24, for the bears to get some significant momentum in their favor. So QQQ leading the way down. NVDA, again, just checking in on hourly RSI levels periodically throughout the morning. I got NVDA hourly RSI at 35. So not getting oversold just yet. So bears are liking the start to the morning. They just want to see XLF join in. SPY next support level that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. Zooming out to the daily chart. Again, the daily lower high has been set now on SPY. And now we're looking at daily support down at 389.40 as the most important level. That's about 1.7% away. Biotech sector bulls are trying to hold on. Again, same thing. If we keep dropping here, the biotech sector bulls are not going to be able to offset the weakness, but biotech bulls are positioned well if we see a bottom set on the morning here in the short term. But so far, the bears are liking the start here as XLF continues to creep towards the low of yesterday. That's now the most important thing. QQQ bears did what they needed to do, at least initially. And now it's, can the XLF bears join? And QQQ, the lowest level from the FOMC reaction that we saw was down at 305.51. We're now at a support zone on QQQ. The low of Wednesday, or the low of Thursday and Friday, 306.95 was a double bottom. We're testing that right now. So good start for the bears. They just want to keep that control. And part of keeping that control means confirming trends on the way down. So any bounce that QQQ sees, bears just want it to be a 2-minute lower high that results in continuation down. So the initial move is nice, but need to see trends for follow through and control to last through the morning. For now, XLF is trying to get a little bounce going, a few pennies above the low of yesterday. We just held the low of yesterday by 3 pennies. So we'll keep an eye on that. The simple statement for me is if XLF holds the low of yesterday, bears aren't going to get a ton of follow through today. And you can already see the response. Look at the SPY wick that's forming on this 5-minute candle as XLF bounces, defending the low of yesterday initially. Still Meta as the lead bear, now down almost 2%. So again, no other major tech names are even close to that weak on the morning. Are we an hourly oversold yet? Just getting there now. Meta is testing daily EMA 12 today. We're right there. Anything above 193.64 is a daily high or low. So now this is going to be, over the next couple of hours, all right, hourly oversold conditions. The next bounce that we see, it's going to be very important. Does it result in a lower low? Or is it a big enough hourly bounce to try and shape up a trend change to set the daily higher low? If XLF turns right around and sees a new high of the day, that's going to be a big vote of confidence in the support of yesterday holding. So we're watching 31.41 resistance closely. New low of the day on QQQ, so it's remaining weaker. Again, the question from here is, all right, we got our QQQ weakness. We're still watching a couple FOMC support levels, but is it rotation or not? Because if XLF hits a new high of the day, that's showing me rotation. The healthcare sector's up at the high of the day. It's flat, but we're not seeing much sell-off in the healthcare sector, so checking in on JNJ to see if JNJ bulls are doing anything. Still tightening up on the daily. That's definitely a top watch this week, because if XLV bulls are able to remain strong, again, XLV just confirmed the first daily uptrend that we've seen in months. Or at least a month. And it didn't follow through yesterday, but here we are at the high of the day trying to salvage the bull break on the daily yesterday. So we'll keep an eye on the healthcare sector. Nice bear follow through for Riot and MARA. So those hourly bear flags that we were looking at first thing did confirm. Breaking the lows of yesterday, hourly downtrends remain our guides. Let's check in on Bitcoin. Whenever I'm referencing those crypto stocks, I always want to know what Bitcoin is doing to see if it's doing the same thing as the NASDAQ or anything different. And it's just chopping around sideways on the 15-minute. It's not as weak as the NASDAQ. So XLF, here we are at the high of the day. And we are close to seeing IWM, XBI, XLV, XLE. We're close to seeing all of our weaker sectors from the last 2 weeks up at the high of the day, while QQQ and semiconductors are pulling back. It's just classic rotation at this point. That can change, but for now, that's what we're seeing yesterday and so far into this morning. Another 10 minutes or so, I'm going to start taking some ticker requests from Chart Guys members. XLF, high of the day. So now we're going to be looking at high of yesterday resistance as the bulls try and maintain the hourly uptrend in XLF to keep the daily bounce going. And it's all about that 31.59 level. So QQQ can be weak, but if these other sectors are strong, the SPY bears are not going to get much follow through. We've got QQQ now, 5-minute RSI getting pretty beat up down at 21. NVDA weakening a bit. One by one, we're seeing names now up, or I should say down over 1%. So Tesla, NVDA, anything that's related to QQQ is definitely on the weaker side today. KRE, the regional banks. Let's see, did they hold the low of yesterday? Doubt it. Nope. So they broke the low of yesterday, but no bear followed through as XLF remains strong. So again, I'm just having deja vu because this is exactly the same as yesterday as far as the sectors that were green and the sectors that were red. And it's the opposite of the last 2 weeks. Here's XBI testing the high of the day. So if QQQ can put in any kind of temporary bottom, the names that are positioned well near their highs should benefit. That's another thing that I'm watching for. Are these names tick for tick inverse? Does a QQQ 5-minute bounce mean that we see 5-minute consolidation in XLF in these other sectors? And I have not seen that as the case. They're definitely somewhat inverse to each other, but when I say tick for tick, I just mean you can see it on the 2-minute, 5-minute time frames. XBI, we're going to be looking at the high of yesterday as a resistance level that's coming into play, and that is 75.60. So we're right under that level right now. Again, just checking the hourly RSI levels. We know Meta is hourly oversold. NVDA is now getting to hourly oversold as well. So aggressive bulls starting to keep an eye out for a bounce. I am not an aggressive bull. A more patient bull. Again, same thing I just talked about on the daily pre-market. If we see a 5-minute bounce on NVDA, so the most aggressive bull is going to be scaling into this weakness. If I don't want to do that, I want to see a big enough 5-minute bounce where I then try for the higher low and say that's either the hourly oversold bounce getting underway or I am wrong and want to stop out. That at least gives me a level to play off of, whereas an aggressive bull that's scaling in now has to place a stop based on dollar risk that they are willing to take. If I'm looking to play a bounce, I want to see NVDA oversold on the hourly. I want the 5 and the 15-minute RSI real beat up. And we're approaching that scenario here. So bears couldn't have asked for a better start on the NASDAQ. They definitely could have asked for a better start on the S&P 500. Because again, the rotation is taking place. And big picture, bulls love rotation. QQQ, that next support, and the only support left from the FOMC reaction is 305.51, which is coming into play. And again, if I were going to be an aggressive bull, I'd be keeping an eye on the names that have strong daily uptrends like NVDA. Apple's not close to hourly oversold just yet. We would need another solid leg down. Google's following through from its notable weakness yesterday. I think the reason, in my opinion, that Google is weaker the last 2 days is because we were rejecting from a very clear resistance level that everybody was watching, 108.18. And we got up to 106.59. And so now we've got a tightening weekly range potentially shaping up on Google. Weekly lower high is almost set. The number one reason you will see a significant shift in correlation is when the individual name is rejecting from a key resistance or bouncing off a key support. And Google divided by QQQ shows us it was a relative bull for weeks, and then it just completely dumped into a relative bear, seemingly out of nowhere. But it's certainly not out of nowhere if you're watching that key support level or that key resistance level on Google. So the next goal for the QQQ bears would be a 5-minute downtrend. So next bounce, just want to see a lower high and then a new low of the day for continued control. XBI is struggling just under the high of yesterday resistance. Amazon still holding on much better than peers. Look at that bounce on Amazon compared to QQQ. It's just that relative strength showing itself. So Amazon is still holding the low of yesterday, trying for the hourly tightening range. Any name that is QQQ related that is holding the low of yesterday stands out as stronger. Tesla's closing in on hourly oversold. So there's a difference here. Why am I less interested in Tesla hourly oversold? It doesn't mean that we're not going to bounce from hourly oversold on Tesla, but the daily setup is different. Tesla is a daily lower high, potentially setting a weekly lower high. A name like Apple or NVDA is in a weekly and daily uptrend. So while their hourly charts might look similar the last few days, their daily and weekly charts are very different. So the probability of a bounce being successful in the stronger names on the longer term time frames is higher. That sentence might not have made sense, but you get what I'm trying to say. The probability is higher for hourly oversold bounces on the names that have stronger, longer term time frames. And we can say Apple and NVDA definitely have a stronger daily chart than Tesla. QQQ is trying to shape up a 5-minute bounce. We'll watch the retracement size. Again, we want to watch this bounce on QQQ and see, is it a 5-minute bear flag or not? And so what we're going to be watching is the retracement size. So we can put our fib retracement from the high of the day to the low of the day and gauge what the strength of the bounce is. Certainly still weak at this point. So QQQ, first 5-minute green candle trying to form on the morning. Still 3 minutes left to go here, but look at XLF. Potentially starting 5-minute consolidation while QQQ is starting a 5-minute bounce. So there is a little bit of inverse action on the shorter term time frames. Again, the morning is young and these correlations definitely shift throughout the morning, but it's something I'm constantly watching. And so I don't have significant confidence that that's what we're seeing here, but again, I'm watching for it, and it wouldn't surprise me if that did shape up. Posting the ticker request thread in the Slack room. So QQQ, potential bear flag at the moment, and I know that there's a 1-minute trend change taking shape without even needing to look. That's what's trying to shape up. Bulls have to confirm the 1-minute uptrend for the bounce to get follow through. Once you look at enough charts and enough time frames and their relationship with each other, that just becomes second nature. I can look at hourly charts and know what the 5-minute chart is doing without looking. And that just comes from repetition and a significant number of hours being put in. And that's why I say, you can't duplicate hours put into watching price action because it just gets ingrained like muscle memory. So now we got QQQ confirming a 1-minute uptrend. There was a time earlier in my trading career where I would look at that 5-minute candle shaping up and be like, oh, that's a bear flag, and act on that. Now I know to zoom in and get the details and just say, it's just a 1-minute trend change attempt. Now, if this 1-minute trend change sees 0 follow through, then that's a 5-minute bear flag. Just like if a 5-minute uptrend or a 5-minute trend change to the bulls sees 0 follow through, it's a potential hourly bear flag. So can't suggest enough zooming in. I used to act on individual candle shapes when I was a trader, daily candles looking for swing trades. And then once I knew to zoom in and look at the hourly trends, it was a game changer It's like you just get so much more information. So Amazon trying to make its way back towards the high of the day. And we are at the high of the day. So again, just relative strength on full display, all pre-market and all morning so far. And now the resistance for Amazon is going to be the high of the end of the day bounce yesterday at 98.78. And if I am an S&P 500 bull, again, the takeaway for me today is this is exactly what I want to see. I want to see healthy daily consolidation so far. Again, that can change, but I want to see healthy daily consolidation to set higher lows while our weaker sectors bounce. So it's still the burden on bears. Bears need to prove to me that there's red flags on these charts. And I need to see QQQ, bear volume, and follow through. It is still a potential 5-minute bear flag at this point. NVDA is remaining a lead bear. What you'll often see is, just like the NASDAQ will often magnify what the S&P 500 is doing. If the S&P 500 is going up, the NASDAQ's going up faster and harder. And if it's going down, it's going down harder. The semiconductors have that with the NASDAQ. It leads it in both directions just because it's more volatile. So that's why you'll often see when the NASDAQ is consolidating, the semiconductors are consolidating more significantly and vice versa. What's going to get me interested in an NVDA bounce would be if 15-minute RSI gets down into the teens. We're not that far. Down at 24, 23. We got a 5-minute stair-step drop on NVDA. So again, daily uptrend, hourly oversold conditions, and 5 and 15-minute RSI levels in the teens gets me interested in looking for that bounce. Daily EMA 12 still not being tested just yet. So I may be interested in NVDA bounce if we get another leg down here. All right, let's check on some of these ticker requests. MOS. So I can see some relative strength on the morning. Daily downtrend, anything under 45.76 is just a daily lower high. It's not a very impressive bounce at this point. We have a double top at the high of yesterday right now. So bulls need to clear that level for the hourly uptrend to see continuation. When we lose the hourly uptrend, it's the first indication that the daily lower high is being set. And we are coming off of fresh lows. So bears are comfortable on a lot of time frames here, certainly as long as the daily downtrend remains. So bulls want to see another couple of days of green to try and set up an inverse head and shoulders. So need to maintain that hourly uptrend to keep this daily bounce going. GME had the earnings gap up into some consolidation. Low of yesterday is being tested right now, 22.69. And if that breaks, we're just looking at 22.10, the low of consolidation to this point. Did we confirm the hourly uptrend a couple days ago? We did not. Came straight off the low, nice bounce, but no hourly uptrend confirmed. So low of yesterday and then the low of consolidation. No daily higher low shaping up just yet. Gold. So again, gold is trying to shape up the daily higher low. Goal for the bulls is just hold a daily inside bar today and then break it bull tomorrow, which would give us the daily higher low and continued tightening range. So we confirmed a 4-hour uptrend, and bulls just want to hold on to that start. The miners gap up, testing the recent high and rejecting initially, 31.80. But gold bulls just want the daily inside bar and then try and break it bull tomorrow. PLTR, 858 resistance on the daily time frame, and 862, a little bit of a double top. Inside bar today, so currently holding the low of yesterday. Bigger picture, we're looking for, I should say the weekly high or low is already set. So I'm viewing this as the low, high, higher low. I would be scouting a lower high compared to 1031. And bulls are hoping this isn't, you know, a textbook inverse head and shoulders kind of setup, but something along those lines. But we need to see the bulls regain an hourly uptrend for a daily high or low to be set. So we need to hold 794 and break 816 for the hourly uptrend to try and shape up a daily high or low compared to 772. QQQ still fighting for the potential of this bear flag as XLF, XLV, IWM, XBI, they're all still hanging out near their high of the day. Netflix is now joining the green. They're flat. So Netflix has a pretty solid bounce off the low. V-shape. Any name that hit a low of the day and then V-shaped needs to confirm a 5-minute uptrend. So that's Amazon and Netflix. Both need to confirm 5-minute uptrends from here if we're going to believe that they can follow through from that sizable bounce. ARQQ. So ARQQ is needing to break 125. That's the level. If we break 125, we confirm the first daily uptrend since back here in over a month. So must hold support of 101 as our daily high or low, and must break 125, ideally on increasing bull volume. Then we zoom out and know to be scouting a weekly lower high, but you just got to be aware that this is as weak of a chart as you can possibly get, just because it's in a downtrend on all longer term time frames. It's a penny stock and it's at all-time lows. And it's down, 98% or whatever. So just be aware that on a name like this, you got to be, if you're doing anything more than just short-term trading, you got to be aware of financials, dilution, convertible debt, because whenever I see a chart like this, granted it's a recent IPO, but this tells me be cautious of convertible debt that just drives prices into the ground, and ACB, cannabis name, is a perfect example of that. This is convertible debt and dilution, taking a name from $150 to 69 cents. But there is a potential setup for the daily trend change there. Tesla, so we broke the low of yesterday, and now we're looking at 187.15 coming into play, on the verge of confirming a daily downtrend, which again would set our weekly lower high, or at least be shaping it up. And so Tesla is a bit weaker here. After 187.15, there's a gap to fill at 186.44. 5 minutes of potential bear flag, just like QQQ. You can see very correlated. NTLA. So NTLA is going to try and form a weekly higher low compared to 34. Man, I don't like the clarity on the weekly. The weekly, we can see very clearly 46.04 resistance, rejection, shifted momentum. We tried for a weekly trend change attempt and we failed. And the bears have had control since then. But I don't have a lot of clarity here overall. So I go to the 2-day time frame just to condense things down. And where I have the clarity is a high, low, lower high And bulls are trying to form a higher low compared to 34.21 for a tightening range to shape up. But that's about it as far as clarity. Can recognize the key longer term resistance and then the 2-day tightening range attempt, but we have to see at a bare minimum an hourly uptrend as the first indication that a 2-day higher low is trying to form. QQQ is on the verge of trying to confirm this 5-minute bear flag. Again, that's keeping NVDA weak. NVDA, still a 5-minute stair-step drop. Bulls can be watching for that to be a potential entry indication. So now we're starting to weaken just a wee bit, just in the sense that QQQ just broke the low on the 5-minute bear flag confirming, and XLF is not at the high of the day. QQQ is trying to see zero follow through on that bear flag confirming. So an aggressive bull is starting to get interested in NVDA, but again, can wait for the 5-minute stair step. Tesla, NVDA, and Google are clearly the lead bears out of the QQQ related names, and Meta, of course. Meta and Google very often trade correlated to each other more so than other individual names in the tech sector. Nice recovery on Netflix. They're staying strong. Look at that volume on Netflix. That's very unusual. What's unusual about that volume is you very rarely, and it's unusual to the point that I have to make sure that it's not just Fidelity giving me wrong information, which can happen, but TradingView is confirming it. You very rarely see a candle 30 minutes into the trading day exceeding the volume on the first candle. And when that happens, it stands out. It's rare enough that it should stand out in your mind. Just like when all of our major sectors are at the high of the day or the low of the day together, and that stands out in our mind, have this volume stand out in your mind as well when this happens. Because again, it's just, if you take 100 days, how many times will this happen? Maybe 1 or 2. I'm just making that up, but you get the idea. So that is notable bull volume. And Netflix bulls broke the low of yesterday with 0 follow through. And now it's just 336.44 resistance. So very impressive dip buying on Netflix. So QQQ now, we've got our short-term resistance level at 306.86. We can say as long as that level is resistance, the bears have full short-term control. And what just happened there is we triggered some stops by breaking the low of the FOMC reaction. And QQQ is hourly oversold. So this is now the QQQ bulls are going to attempt an hourly oversold bounce. And they'll have to confirm a 5-minute uptrend for that to be shaping up. NVDA still working on the bounce attempt. We've got to see a 1-minute uptrend. One-minute EMA 12 has been driving the price down all morning. We're testing that right now. Riot. So Riot is trying to bounce with the NASDAQ here. 5-minute downtrend confirmed, but not much follow through, same as the NASDAQ. 5-minute bear flag confirmed with no follow through. Hourly EMA 12 resistance rejected the price yesterday and today to start the morning. I would consider anything under 834 to be an hourly lower high. And we have to see a 5-minute uptrend as the first sign of an hourly bounce trying to take shape. And again, always checking back in on Bitcoin whenever referring to these names. And it's just sideways. Nothing going on for Bitcoin on the morning yet at this point. But this 5-minute sideways range should break within the next 20 minutes or so. So worth keeping an eye on. So XBI is still battling just under the high of yesterday. Bears are defending it. 75.60, 75.56, and now 75.56, the high of today. Still a 5-minute uptrend. Bears want to see a break of 75.18 to be a convincing rejection. Whenever I see a rejection from resistance, as long as the uptrend is remaining intact, that tells me we're still within striking distance to continue testing this resistance. If you lose that 5-minute high or low, that's a successful rejection from the bears. So we're still in a tightening 5-minute range, hovering under resistance. Bears must take out the 5-minute support for the convincing rejection. MARA, similar to Riot, except the difference is we didn't hit a new low of the day, so there's a little bit of relative strength there. So we got a tightening range on MARA. We're going to have to confirm a 5-minute uptrend here as well. And then if we do, we'll zoom out and watch hourly lower high resistance. But nice defense, double bottom at the low of the day. Anything under 712 is a lower high. But responding to this QQQ bounce attempt. NVDA still trying to shape up a 1-minute trend change. Again, you look at it, still struggling with EMA 12 here on the 1-minute time frame. Gotta get over that for this 5-minute oversold bounce to get going. OXY daily uptrend confirmed. Resistance of 61.63. We broke that as well. Gotta hold the low of the day here. If we fall back and break the low of the day, it's going to be a bearish candle on the daily shaping up. Bulls want to see a move 61.20 plus to try and see a 5-minute equilibrium shape up. This pullback is more than the bulls want to see, but we are still holding the low of the day. If we break that low of the day, we zoom out, and we will look for an hourly high or low. It'll just be not your ideal daily candle shaping up. Bulls may have exhausted themselves with a gap up open and a solid push first thing. AMD. So again, the semiconductors are seeing some decent weakness here. We've got 92.90 breaking. Did it? No. Well, double bottom. We broke by 3 pennies. So 92.90 double bottom. Still weak on the 5-minute. Trying to get this bounce going. Same thing as MBDA. 5-minute stair step. Extreme RSI. So 5-minute bounce is now underway. And we're going to look for a 5-minute lower high. And we're going to watch the retracement size on the bounce. Is it a bear flag? Is it a big enough bounce for the bulls to create space for a 5-minute trend change attempt? But we can easily say that the semiconductors are one of the weakest sectors on the morning today. And if we look at SMH divided by QQQ, we will see that with the big red candle today. And I talked in the video yesterday about watching semiconductors for the potential of a weekly rising wedge, and I compared it to the financial sector weekly rising wedge that formed a couple weeks ago. And this is definitely a top watch over the next couple of weeks. And if that were to confirm, it would be monthly consolidation, because the semiconductors have essentially seen a monthly stair step 5 months in a row. NVDA, the best example of that. And as I've been talking about long-term charts, for me, the most likely scenario on NVDA is a 4-month lower high and tightening range. Look at how huge this range is on this long-term time frame. If you tell me this is a 5-minute chart, I'm scouting an equilibrium. It's a 4-month chart. So this takes years to develop. But I'm watching for monthly consolidation in the semiconductors. And there's a lot of proving the bears have to do. And I'm just zoomed in on daily charts and looking for signs that that's shaping up. And what I have to see is a big enough pullback where the next bounce creates the space to confirm a daily downtrend. Confirming a daily downtrend on SMH and NVDA and these individual names will be the first indication of a monthly top being set. Just one day at a time. I just know I'm watching for this bigger picture setup, and I'm watching for information one day at a time to either confirm or deny that thesis. Checking back in on everything. XLF still at the highs. XLV, XLE. Everything's still at the highs aside from QQQ and semiconductors. So still inverse. CAD USD. So weekly time frame here, again, it's a weekly bounce. Bulls need to clear 7335, which is being tested to try and start to negate a weekly bear flag, but we need follow through because right now it's a confirmed daily uptrend with zero follow through. We need to see a move up towards 74. So testing the recent high, trying to get to the highest level in a couple of weeks to try and negate the weekly bear flag. And this daily uptrend is going to be the most important time frame for us as long as these higher lows keep forming. But double top at 7335. DKNG, haven't looked at this one in a while. Nice bounce off the lows. Weekly EMA 12 is trying to hold. It's a falling wedge type of pattern. Let's zoom into the 4 hour. I don't often use the 4 hour with stocks, but sometimes, usually wedges is when I look for it. So something like that support. And this resistance. And we are right at that resistance downtrending line. I don't love where I drew my support line, but why do I look for a falling wedge there? Anytime you see the lower lows with a lack of follow through. So here is 1783 support, and we break it one day into a weak bounce attempt, bear break for one day into a bounce attempt, bear break for one day into a bounce attempt. If you're going to follow through, you need multiple candles of follow through. If it's just one candle straight into a move in the other direction, there's a lack of follow through. So this is now trying to shape up a daily uptrend, and a break of 1864 would confirm a daily uptrend and would have us holding weekly EMA 12 support on the back test. Checking the 2-week chart. I mean, it's a you know, you don't look for a cup and handle pattern as a reversal pattern, but the psychology is there with resistance, long drawn out consolidation, fail resistance into a bull flag attempt. So if the bulls can turn around this daily chart, this is a potential 2-week bull flag, and that's enticing enough for me to check out some other names in the sector. Penn is obviously much weaker, not anywhere near the same setup, but that's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Obviously, the broader market bulls will have to keep control over the next few weeks if this is going to be a potential 2-week bull flag. But one step at a time. Have to confirm a daily uptrend. So still work to do on the short-term time frames. NVDA, some further 5-minute bounce follow through. Again, we gotta see a 5-minute uptrend confirm for the hourly oversold bounce to be underway. We've got QQQ breaking the 5-minute lower high. It too will have to confirm a 5-minute uptrend. There's a lot of space for a 5-minute higher low to be the result of this consolidation. And again, through all that, right, it was pretty weak. And obviously, there's a lot of day left, but pretty weak morning. Bunch of big names down 1 to 2% in the tech sector, yet here is SPY flat, which is showing us rotation, which is what bulls want to see. So some nice wins for bears on individual names, But again, when I'm just referencing the market as a whole, we're not seeing any kind of fear at this point. Netflix still strong up at the highs. Netflix going to have a lot of space for a 5-minute high or low next consolidation. It's a stair step. Stair step since the low of the day, thanks to that big volume inflow. Tesla's up 1% off the low. It's got a 5-minute uptrend confirmed. So what do I do now? This is the time in the morning where I generally will zoom out. So Tesla, we can zoom out to the 15-minute time frame. Anything under the high of the day is a 15-minute lower high to help keep the bigger picture in mind. It would be a big win today if the financial sector bulls, if XLF can break the high of yesterday. And that is potentially in play. We came 7 pennies shy of that level. And what I'm watching for on the daily, on an intraday basis now is the same thing we've been watching for on a daily chart basis for swing perspective. But is XLF going to weaken from here and head towards the low of the day, or is QQQ going to strengthen and head towards the high of the day? And right now, QQQ and the semiconductors are trying to strengthen as XLF tests the high of the day. So I'm ready to go bear. I'm ready to jump on Team Bear and see downside for weeks, but not with action like this. And again, it can change tomorrow. So that's why we have to constantly stay on top of it and react to the new information that we get on a daily basis. But in the moment observations, rotation is going on. Can I look at NG? You betcha. So NG, I talked a little bit about this morning. There's definitely a potential bottom fish play here, but your probabilities of stopping out are high. The risk is small. The reward is large if it holds. So the 4-hour time frame on natural gas has been a very clear downtrend. And I would say anything under 212.2 is just a lower high. If you break 212.2, it's the first step towards bulls trying to go on offense. Because bulls have not gone on offense for weeks. They played some defense. This was nice defense, no offense. What do I mean by that? I mean we bounce above support, we get some follow through, there was never a trend change. So an aggressive bull is looking for a bottom fish. A patient bull is waiting for a big enough 4-hour bounce to scout a 4-hour high or low. We know natural gas doesn't often let patient traders get an entry, as it makes extreme moves in both directions. But it is still weak on the 4-hour. We don't have bulls proving anything at this point. BA, nice tightening daily range. So, I look at this daily chart and this looks choppy to me, but what my brain instantly zooms in on is this right here. Because I like equilibriums for clarity, and that's an equilibrium heading up towards resistance of 207.86. If we lose the hourly uptrend without breaking 207.86, it's a lower high in a continued tightening range. If we break that level, it's a confirmed daily uptrend. We are getting a little extended into that resistance test. The hourly RSI would be mid to upper 70s. We got a lot of space for an hourly high or low next consolidation. This BA longer term consolidation is definitely healthy at this point. Again, it's another example of bear break. This is the weekly chart. Bear break for one candle into a bounce. Bear break for one candle into almost a bounce, trying to shape up that bounce. I like the BA longer term time frames, going to the 2-month or 4-month chart, 3-month chart. Look at that equilibrium since CVID. We've got our high, low, lower high, higher low. Anything under 278 is a lower high, and we may trade within this range for another year plus. But you better believe that when that breaks, we're going to get some nice follow through, in my opinion. And, you know, I just did that long-term patterns video where I talked about BABA, and definitely need to add BA to that list. So I'm writing it down now. BA long-term tightening range. Speaking of BABA, did bulls hold those gains? Nope, some hourly consolidation underway. So profit taking on the big gap up open. New low of the day would confirm a 5-minute downtrend. The 5-minute downtrend is our guide as we scout an hourly high or low. Bulls need to confirm a 5-minute uptrend for it to be shaping up. We'll also keep an eye out for first 5-minute oversold conditions if we head there. NIO did break daily resistance, but bulls need to break 953 to confirm this inverse head and shoulders. And now a must-hold level is 883. Break of 883 is definitely a red flag for bulls, as that needs to be the daily high or low from here. So QQQ is still watching for 5-minute consolidation on its pretty solid bounce. And again, it's essentially a double bottom with the low of the FOMC reaction. We did break it. Let's check the NASDAQ futures. So you can see QQQ broke it by a few pennies, but the NASDAQ futures bounced right off of it. And so that's bulls playing defense at a key support level on this 5-minute bounce. And we have to confirm a 5-minute uptrend if there's going to be any follow through from that. You'll oftentimes see that happen, just like natural gas. You'll see a solid bounce off of a support level that triggers longs playing off support and some shorts covering. So you get that fast, hard move. And the example for natural gas was on the 4-hour time frame. But you got to change the trend to follow through from that. So that's now the most important thing for the NASDAQ from here. Can we confirm the 5-minute uptrend to follow through from the support hold? Checking back in on the biotech sector. Still struggling at resistance. We're close to losing the 5-minute uptrend. It won't be game over, but it will definitely be, you know, bears taking a sigh of relief. Bears that are playing defense will consider that a short-term win if we break 75.18 and confirm a 5-minute downtrend. So NVDA ended up with a decent bounce. Again, that 5-minute stair step. Beauty. So if we look at NVDA and the way that 5-minute stair step goes, is the long entry was triggered at 259.89. And stop would have been 258.50. So risk of about $1.40. And reward at this point is about the same as what the risk would be. So again, that's what an aggressive bear or aggressive bull would look to do. A patient bull is going to look for 5-minute high or low entry using the low of the day as a stop, knowing that we must confirm a 5-minute uptrend from here if the hourly oversold bounce is going to be underway. But it's a decent enough bounce at this point to create that space for the 5-minute high or low to try and form from here. In a normal market environment, I am all over that bounce play. In the current market environment where we've got this tug of war going on, I'm a lot less confident in bounce plays. But if these NASDAQ names set healthy daily higher lows, that's definitely going to go in the memory banks for making me a little bit more trusting of bulls next time around. The way you can compare individual names right now on this NASDAQ bounce attempt is the retracement size. So if I'm looking at NVDA, I say, all right, we've just bounced we'll call it 48% of the drop on the morning. How does that compare to Google? Okay, Google, very similar, just under 50% retracement. How about Apple? Apple's weaker. So I can say Apple's bounce is not as strong. It's gotten up to about 39% retracement. So when I'm looking to try and determine relative strength and weakness, this is one way to do it. Netflix 5-minute consolidation underway. Plenty of space for the higher low. Bulls just want to maintain the EMA 12 to keep this consolidation healthy. We are close to resistance of 336.44. So QQQ, we can now watch the consolidation retracement size. Do we give back more than half of this bounce? Do we form a quick high or low and confirm a 5-minute uptrend? Retracement sizes give us a bunch of information. In my earlier trading days, I didn't use fib retracements, and I would just visually know if, just from the observation of thousands of patterns, visually know if that's healthy consolidation or not, just by, essentially I was doing fib retracements in my brain without knowing that's what I was doing. But fib retracements are a nice way to be able to quantify. I used to just say, that looks like a healthy 5-minute high or low, but now we can quantify it. If it's less than 50% retracement, it's a higher low that's trying to confirm the trend change. Natural gas, how much weight do I give to a bearish RSI? 0. RSI means nothing to me on natural gas. RSI goes out the window so often on natural gas in both directions. If you ask me what instrument that you watch trading out of anything in any market has the least reliable RSI, natural gas. Nothing's even close. I don't even have a close second. And knowing that RSI is one of my key tools as a trader in trending markets, much more so than in choppy markets, I don't trade natural gas. If one of my tools is useless, that's not good. XLE still up at the high of the day. Amazon wasn't able to do much with that NASDAQ bounce there. Never confirmed the 5-minute uptrend, so that relative strength fading a bit over the last 20-30 minutes. It's still stronger than many other names on the day. It's only down 0.2% versus 1% on Microsoft. But again, that's just an example of correlations changing within a 60-minute window. And as day traders, that's something we definitely need to stay on top of, constantly watching those shifts in correlations, which oftentimes happen multiple times a day. NASDAQ bears would love a new low of the day from here. For that size of a 5-minute bounce to not result in a 5-minute uptrend off of a key support level, that would be a good sign for bears. XBI is on the verge of breaking those short-term supports. SQ. Couple 5-minute inside bars here. If they break bear, we look for the 5-minute higher low with a lot of space for it to form. That's a really nice pattern. Just the real tight range on the morning. Breaking bull with volume behind it. That's conviction and follow through. So low of the day, fail the high of the day, hold the low of the day. The bull break candle is the highest 2-minute volume candle of the morning. So that's your prove it indicator. Bulls prove it with that volume, and then it's just high volume on the follow through from there. So now we're looking at 77.15 key resistance. Nope, wrong number. 65.75 key resistance to try and get into the gap fill on the daily time frame. So hourly uptrend nice and strong still. Low of today is now our new hourly higher low. And it's just that 65.75 level coming into play here. Definitely got to keep an eye on the hourly RSI as well. You know, if we break 65.75, that's great, but the hourly RSI will be approaching 70, and we've pulled back from 70 the last 2 times that we've touched it, and knowing that we're looking for a daily lower high, just something to be aware of. I would care about the price level trends more than the RSI if I were in a long position, but again, just something to keep an eye on. 65.75 matters more. So the simple statement for for QQQ here is if bulls cannot break 307.11, bears remain comfortable because that's the level that must break for the 5-minute uptrend to confirm from this point. I'm definitely going to be paying extra close attention to whether or not all major sectors hit lows together while the NASDAQ is seeing this daily consolidation underway. So the NASDAQ retracement on this 5-minute consolidation is already more than the bulls want to see. It's over 50%. Bulls at this point just hoping to hold the low of the day for a tightening 5-minute range to form. Still watching the XLF 5-minute uptrend. If we lose that, it's a potential hourly lower high versus the high of yesterday. Bears would love to see QQQ break the low of the day and XLF to head to the low of the day at the same time. So hourly downtrends remain our guides on QQQ names. We know that the bulls have to shape up hourly uptrends for daily higher lows to be set. Keeping a close eye on XLF here. If it starts to fade and starts to shift towards potentially joining Team Bear, that would be best case. We've got XLV approaching the low of the day, XBI. So these stronger names are fading a bit. I'm going to stay on a little bit longer here and see if the NASDAQ bears can break the low of the day and what XLF is doing at that point in time. XLF is a potential head and shoulders shaping up on the 5-minute if we were to hold support here on this test. So 31.40 is support. If that holds, bears can watch for a 5-minute lower high next bounce. So a good example of QQQ here, again, similar to natural gas. Bulls played defense, nice bounce, never changed the trend. And so bears are keeping their short-term control as QQQ is on the verge of a new low. And we got to be watching who breaks the low of the day with QQQ, which names hold their low of the day. XLF just broke 5-minute support, so 5-minute uptrend has been lost. And bears are liking that candle. Tesla daily support coming into play. So 15-minute lower high. And that's again how we can not get faked out as much. You see Tesla, oh, 5-minute uptrend. All right, bulls got control. But as soon as you zoom out, you say, well, we are looking for a 15-minute lower high, anything under the high of the day. So play that zoom out game. Whenever a trend changes on one time frame, zoom out and determine the most likely scenario on the next time frame as well. But Tesla is now testing that daily support of 187.15. So that's going to be a key level for the rest of the day. I might be interested in an XLF bear entry on the next 5-minute bounce. Looking for a lower high compared to the high of the day. If you go to the XLF 15-minute time frame, it's going to try and form a higher low versus the low of the day to tighten up. So bears gaining a little bit of confidence, but again, they still want to see these other sectors roll over to their lows to hit them at the same time to ruin this rotation that's been going on so far and to then be seeing money leaving. Last one, CPG. CPG daily higher low is set 627. It's all about 687 from here to try and confirm the first daily uptrend. We've had some nice big bounces. Let's go to the monthly here. 551. So monthly trying to hold support at 551, and if we confirm the daily uptrend, that's the first indication. Mid bulls are holding that monthly support. So it's all about 687, and a break of 627 at this point would be a big red flag. So we've got our big bounce, we've got our daily high or low. Now you just got to break 687 to follow through with it. Netflix retracing significantly. Again, look at that stair step. Another one. Stair step, 330.60. 0.5% pullback from that. Definitely going to be looking for a 5-minute high or low on Netflix, but pretty decent pullback. Could see a 5-minute equilibrium shape up. So for me, the most important thing over the next couple of days is I'm trying to gauge swing perspective of the market. Is it time to be an aggressive bear? Is it time to be scouting daily higher lows for bulls on the NASDAQ names? That's the information I'm looking for this week. So there'll be day trades in both directions, as always. But the information I am most focused on is swing trade clarity. And again, I just don't want this constant tug of war between all these major sectors. I just want to see all these sectors going in the same direction together, because that's when you get follow through and big moves. NASDAQ bears are pleased. Only thing they're missing on their wish list is entire market weakness, not just NASDAQ specific weakness, but they'll take it. Especially after the last couple of weeks. All right, make sure and check out those free ebooks. I'm going to be live tomorrow, 5 p.m. I'm also going to be live today at 2 p.m. going on a crypto channel, talking about crypto stuff. I'll be back in the chat room shortly. Have a great rest of your morning. Thanks for tuning in.